It was just an ordinary Saturday afternoon, the kind that seemed to slip through your fingers without much thought. But something was different this time. A quiet, nagging feeling had been creeping up on me for weeks, an itch I couldn't quite scratch. My wife, Danielle, had been acting strangely, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. At first, I thought it was just the stress from her demanding job. She had been under a lot of pressure lately, and I figured that would be the end of it. But soon, small changes began to accumulate, each one more unsettling than the last. She wasn't the same woman I had married. The house, once filled with her laughter and her constant ideas for weekend plans, had become eerily quiet. Danielle would come home late, barely acknowledging my presence, her eyes glued to her phone. She spent hours typing away, her fingers swift and constant, as though she was trying to hide something from me. One evening, I decided to confront her. "Hey, Danielle, you okay?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe of the kitchen. She didn't look up immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on the screen, her fingers still moving. "Yeah, I'm fine," she answered, her voice quiet, almost too quiet, like she was trying to convince herself more than me. The tone was flat, devoid of the warmth I had once known. I hesitated, standing there in the silence, feeling that tightness in my chest that I had been trying to ignore. "You sure? You've been kind of distant lately," I added, my voice soft, careful not to push too hard. She sighed, offering a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm just tired, that's all." I wanted to press further, to ask if something was really wrong, but I held back. Maybe I was just overthinking things. After all, we had been together for over 7 years, married for 5. Our life seemed perfect on the outside. A beautiful home, a dog, and the kind of stability that most people envied. But that trust one had in her began to crack, slowly at first, like the first signs of storm on the horizon. One afternoon, I came home early, expecting the usual quiet of the house, but something felt off. The air in the room was still, yes, but there was an undercurrent of tension. As I entered the kitchen, I saw Danielle standing at the counter, her phone pressed to her ear. She had noticed me at first, and what I overheard made my stomach drop. "Yeah, see you tonight," she said, her voice light, almost playful. It was a tone I hadn't heard her use in a long time. It was flirtatious, intimate even, nothing like how she spoke to friends. I froze, the blood draining from my face as I stood there, unable to move. She jumped when she saw me. Her eyes widened, and her hand instinctively pulled the phone from her ear. The sudden shift in her demeanor didn't escape me. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though my heart was pounding in my chest. "Oh, just a friend," she said, quickly glancing away as though the words were rehearsed. "A friend? That's not how you talk to a friend." My mind raced, and I repeated the question, "A friend?" She looked at me, her movements a little too quick, her posture defensive. You know how girls talk to each other. I wasn't buying it. "Are you going out tonight?" I asked, my voice sharper now. "Yeah," she said, caught off guard. "I'm meeting some friends." The lie felt too rehearsed. It felt like she had told this story 100 times, tweaking it just enough to keep me from asking too many questions. But I still couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. And so the pattern began. Every evening, Danielle would get dressed up, telling me she was going out to meet friends or catch up with someone from work. Each excuse felt like a performance, like she was reading lines she had practiced over and over. I wanted to believe her. I tried to tell myself I was just overthinking, that it was just the stress, that maybe she did need some time for herself. But the knot in my stomach tightened with each passing night. One evening, as she slipped on her coat by the door, I couldn't hold it in any longer. "You're going out again?" I asked, my voice low, tight with a tension I couldn't shake. She sighed, her frustration clear. "Yes, Ronald, I'm going out." "With who?" I pressed. Her eyes narrowed, the defensiveness creeping in. "What is this, an interrogation?" I took a breath, trying to stay calm. "No, I just thought we were going to spend some time together tonight. You've been out every night this week." Her voice rose, her arms crossing defensively. "So what, Ronald? Can I hang out with my friends once in a while? You never had a problem with it before. Her words stung, and I knew she was right. I hadn't been the most present either, but this felt different. We haven't had a real conversation in days. You come home late, barely talk to me, and when I ask about it, you get defensive. Don't you think that's strange? She scowled, her eyes flashing. What's your problem? I just want some time for myself. It's not a crime. I'm not accusing you of anything, Danielle. I'm just saying it feels like you're shutting me out, like you're hiding something. Her face reddened with anger. You think I'm lying? You think I'm doing something wrong? You don't even notice me anymore. Ronald, you're always buried in work. And when I try to take care of myself, you act like it's a betrayal. Her words were sharp, each one a barb aimed straight at me. I could feel the frustration building inside me, threatening to spill over. Space doesn't mean disappearing every night. It doesn't mean keeping secrets. Her eyes narrowed into a glare. Maybe you're supposed to trust me instead of acting like a paranoid lunatic. I'm not doing anything wrong. We stood there in silence for a long moment, the air between us thick with unspoken words. My heart was pounding in my throat. Finally, I spoke, my voice barely a whisper. I don't know who you are anymore. The anger in her face drained away, replaced by a coldness I hadn't seen before. She stood there, hands shaking as she grabbed her purse. I'm done, Ronald, she said flatly. I can't do this anymore. Without another word, she turned and walked out the door. I need space. Don't wait up for me, she added, her voice distant, before slamming the door behind her. And just like that, she was gone. I stood frozen, the silence in the house deafening. The home that once felt like a safe haven now felt hollow, like something precious had shattered beyond repair. The days that followed dragged on in a blur, each one heavier than the last. Danielle came and went, her words cold and distant. Each time she looked away when I asked her something, every vague answer she gave, it all chipped away at what little trust one had left. Then one morning, something caught my eye. Danielle had just gotten out of the shower, and as she moved past me, I noticed it, an unmistakable bruise on her hip, small but fresh, too fresh to be a simple accident. It looked like someone had grabbed her. I tried to push it out of my mind, to tell myself it was nothing, but the feeling in my gut wouldn't let me. I couldn't keep doing this, couldn't keep sitting in the dark, wondering what was really going on. The lies, the coldness, the bruises, they all pointed to something I didn't want to believe but couldn't ignore. The next time she went out, I decided I would follow her. I needed answers. I needed the truth. I wasn't going to be left in the dark anymore. She didn't say a word as she opened the door and left, her voice quick and dismissive. I stood there, frozen, heart pounding in my chest, watching her slip into the night. A cold, furious clarity washed over me. I couldn't let it go this time. I wouldn't. Without thinking, I grabbed my keys and stepped outside, started my car and following her at a safe distance. I kept far enough back so she wouldn't notice me, but I couldn't stop my hands from trembling as I drove. She turned off the main road and onto quieter, dimly lit streets, before finally pulling up in front of a small, secluded cafe. I parked down the road, keeping to the shadows, not daring to get too close. I watched as she sat in the car, her eyes darting around the sidewalk like she was waiting for someone. And then he appeared. Noah, the neighbor's son. A kid in my eyes, barely 21, someone I'd watched grow up in the neighborhood. He'd always been polite, always willing to help with odd jobs around the block, fixing fences, taking out the trash. I'd never thought twice about him. He was young, harmless, or at least that's what I thought. But now, as I watched him approach her car, something twisted deep in my gut. He wasn't just another kid anymore. He was something else. He opened the door and slid into the car beside Danielle. I saw her turn to him, a smile spreading across her face. And then, as though they were the only two people in the world, they kissed. Boldly, openly, no shame, no fear. My breath caught in my throat. I felt like I had been hit. Hard. Numbly, I reached for my phone. Each click of the shutter felt like a nail being driven into my chest. Photos. Proof. the undeniable truth of what I was seeing. They pulled away from each other after a moment, and she drove off with him in tow, my heart sinking with every mile. I followed them, hands clenched tightly around the wheel, my mind a storm of disbelief and rage. The drive felt endless, but eventually they pulled into a hotel. My gut churned, a cold knot of realization tightening in my chest. I parked some distance away, still hidden, and snapped more pictures. Danielle and Noah walking together, disappearing behind the glass doors of the hotel. It felt surreal, like I was trapped in a nightmare. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, walking into a hotel with someone else. Someone I had trusted. I couldn't move. My body was paralyzed by the weight of it all. I just sat there, the images on my phone burning in front of me, the silence inside the car deafening. Eventually, I started the engine, drove home, my hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. I wasn't sure what I would say when I saw her again, but I knew one thing. I couldn't let it go. Not this time. The lie had become too big, and now I had the truth. Back home, the house felt suffocating. I waited in the living room, heart pounding like a war drum in my chest. Minutes stretched like hours. The door finally opened. Danielle stepped inside and froze when she saw me. "Ronald, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice shaky, her eyes darting between me and the tension that hung in the air. I didn't answer her. Instead, I pulled out my phone and turned the screen toward her. The photos lit up between us, undeniable and damning. Her kissing Noah, walking into the hotel with him. Her face drained of color as she looked at the pictures. What is this?" she stammered. "You tell me," I said, my voice calm but raw, steady but seething. "You've been sneaking out, lied to me for weeks, and now I know why." She opened her mouth, but I cut her off before she could speak. "Don't," I said, the anger bubbling up now. "Don't even try to explain this away. I saw it with my own eyes. Noah, of all people, he's barely out of high school." Her eyes dropped to the floor, and when she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't mean for this to happen, Ronald. It's not what you think. Not what I think." My voice rose, the hurt and fury bursting to the cracks in my control. "You kissed him. You went to a hotel with him. You think that's something I can misinterpret?" And then she broke down. Her defenses crumbled in an instant, and she fell apart in front of me, her voice choking on the words she couldn't even finish. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I wanted to feel young again. I didn't know how to handle everything. And Noah, he made me feel alive for a little while." Her words stung, a slap to my face. I stared at her, broken, not recognizing the woman in front of me anymore. The woman who had stood by me for years, who had built a life with me, now a stranger. The argument that followed drained me. We yelled until my throat burned, until her tears had run dry. But nothing she said could undo what was already done. The damage was done. When the shouting finally stopped, I looked at her, calm now, my words cutting to the tension like a knife. I want a divorce. She didn't fight me. She didn't beg. She only nodded, her face an image of shame and defeat. The next morning, I couldn't keep it to myself. I went straight to Noah's father, my neighbor, and showed him everything. His face turned pale when he saw the photos. "This can't be true," he said, disbelief heavy in his voice. "It is," I replied, my tone cold. "Your son was with my wife." He looked crushed, humiliated. "I had no idea," he said, the weight of his words sinking in. Word spread fast. The neighborhood buzzed with whispers and stares. Danielle, once admired and respected, had become a pariah. People crossed the street to avoid her. Her reputation shattered, her shame following her everywhere she went. I filed for divorce immediately. There would be no mediation, no discussions. There was no trust left to rebuild. I kept the house, kept everything we had built together, and Danielle walked away with nothing. She tried to talk to me about a settlement, but I didn't budge. That part of me, the part that would have considered it, was gone in the end. She was left to live with the consequences, the shame that now clung to her like a shadow. And as for me, I walked away free. No longer burdened by lies, no longer held down by the weight of what I once thought was love.